This is the Khmer Times News. My name is Paolo Bonini, and these are your headlines. Chinese gangsters shoot it out near airport, causing huge panic. A vast amount of gold is discovered in Cambodia. And a bear with a little brain looks on in horror at a mountain of fake honey. But firstly, it's to our headline story, and it's all about guns and gangsters. A criminal gang had a shootout near Phnom Penh International Airport, and it generated a river of headlines, including this most recent headline: Chinese jailed for shooting spree in Phnom Penh. Now, this story is incredible, and the photos even more so, so let's get to those, as it is the photos themselves that tell this story. Here we have the criminals with their weapons after the police detain them. What we see here is some almighty firepower. The men are armed with AK-47 fully automatic assault rifles and a pistol, as well as knives, but we will get to those later. So what went on? Well, let us firstly again go to the photos to see what exactly happened, and then I will explain why it happened. In these stills taken from a CCTV camera, you will see two men running towards rival gang members. Both men are carrying fully automatic rifles that are loaded. Worse than that, they felt it was okay to fire off these assault rifles in broad daylight near Phnom Penh International Airport. The astonishing level of violence displayed by these men is quite simply appalling. It caused an absolute uproar as police, specialised police and military forces were called to the scene. After all, gunfire at a nation's most important airport would make many people very nervous indeed. When the men were detained, it turns out that the incident appears to have been triggered from an altercation at a karaoke bar, where the two groups of Chinese men went to drink and to sing. But it got all very violent indeed, as this was not just one gun incident, as there were three major fights that afternoon. The first and second conflicts involved repeated stabbings. However, it did not stop there, as the gang continued drinking, and then all hell broke loose when they upped the ante further and pulled out assault rifles and took to the streets. It's beyond belief that two knife fights that included men being stabbed was then allowed to escalate into a full-blown gunfight. The accused men are Mr. Zhu Dakhun, 38-year-old Chinese national, Mr. Han Chung, a 34-year-old Chinese national, and Mr. Li Yongji, also 34 and a Chinese national. These men have all been jailed, and they now await a trial date. On this week's Crime Desk, a nightclub fire traps and kills, a widow stabbed in the throat, and for what? And Winnie the Pooh has a cardiac arrest. So here we go, and let's go straight to our first headline. It read, "Man arrested for murder of Kampot widow." Not nice, we can all agree, but hardly a headline of sensation. And it should be, as what this bloke did was utterly appalling, and how he did it was atrocious. But the main thing about this murder is why he did it. The reason behind this crime is incredible. Tell me, would you repeatedly stab an old woman in the throat with a carving knife so you could get some money to have a party? I'm guessing no, you wouldn't. But that's exactly what this guy did. The suspect was Mr. Pyum Bot, who was arrested this week in Takao province, suspected of brutally murdering a widow by stabbing her repeatedly in the throat with a large kitchen knife. The murder occurred on Tuesday at around 11 p.m, and the tragedy is twofold, as the victim herself was preparing for her daughter's wedding. The wedding was in a few short days, and the family was deep into preparations for such a joyous event. But it was these preparations that attracted the killer. He saw the money being spent, and he wanted it for himself, so he could have his own party. So he entered the old lady's house late that night to steal all that wedding cash. But the lady woke. The killer then grabbed the large kitchen knife and plunged it into her throat over and over again. The assault was so savage the room was sprayed with blood, the blood of the innocent. The body fell to the floor, and now unencumbered, the robber set about his task. He stole 2 mobile phones, 2 pairs of gold earrings, and a platinum bracelet that weighed all of 10 grams. Also, he did manage to scoop up a significant amount of cash, money, of course, that was set aside for the soon-to-be wedding. The suspect, Mr. Pumbot, a 45-year-old male, was soon suspected as well as arrested. He has now been charged and is to be sent to trial. Now, here is a story that returns with some regularity, but it's so very easy to miss. That's unless you trawl through the archives, as I have done. The headline read, "Death toll in Phnom Penh nightclub blaze rises to 4." Now, this headline got me thinking, as I recall a horrifying nightclub fire in Siem Reap a while back that killed many. And the reason it did so is the security guards had chained the fire doors closed to stop people entering without paying. So I went looking for that story to marry with this most recent nightclub fire death. But what I found shocked me. There was headline after headline after headline speaking of identical tragedies. Here is just some of those that I found. 2 die in Sihanoukville nightclub fire. 4 arrested after Phnom Penh nightclub blaze that left 8 dead. At least 3 reported dead in Siem Reap nightclub blaze. Nightclub fire kills 5 women. Nightclub fire kills 6. And I did find more, but I think you get the gist of things. Fires in nightclubs seem to be not such an unusual occurrence. But on this particular occasion, it was that little bit different, as it was started by workmen that were renovating the club. And it did leave 5 people dead. Fires in clubs are indeed frightening, as there is a huge amount of noise, confusing lights, and often fake smoke. And that is the concoction that often makes these fires so very deadly. And according to the Police Fire Prevention Department, fire deaths are in fact on the rise. In 2022, just 17 people were killed. By 2023, that had risen to 54, and in 2024, a new high was reached with 60 deaths by fire. Nightclub fires do make the news, but fire deaths are nearly always in the home. So do be sure, if you wish not to become one of the growing statistics, get yourself a fire alarm. They cost next to nothing and could save you from being a number on an unwanted list. This is my favourite story of the week, so let's get it on. So to a story that would have Mr. Pooh of 100 Acre Wood in such a tizzy, he would have no idea where to turn. He would be a most confused bear. As this week, this headline gained more than just a few readers' attention. It read, "Honey Trap, 20 tons of fake honey seized from counterfeiters." That is 20,000 kilos of fake honey. My God, is nothing sacred. The police conducted a raid on a facility in Phnom Penh this week. Experts said that during the inspection, the joint authorities found a total of 130 barrels of honey, weighing a total of 19,890 kilos. The honey is believed to be counterfeit and has never had an association with a bee, but has in fact been cooked up in huge boiling vats in some dodgy factory somewhere. The Vietnamese owner of the premises was detained by the Economic Crimes Police for questioning. All very good. But here's the thing. What is fake honey? Well, very simply, it's sugar and water with some acid from lemons and other enhancers. And when you boil it all up, it looks identical to honey. Show photo of terrified bear. And due to it being a counterfeit property, trust me, it ain't as healthy as real honey. So how can you tell? Well, I have done some research, and here there are 3 ways to spot fake honey. 1. Drop a tablespoon into water, honey will sink and leave no residue. 2, put a drop on your thumbnail, it should sit there as a blob and not run off. And finally, set fire to it. Show picture of frightened bear for a second time. Surprisingly, honey is combustible, so if it don't burn, it ain't real honey. Now, you can't say you haven't learned something today. Now then, I do try every single week to bring you stories that are a bit different, to keep the jolly old interest levels up, hopefully to show you something within the kingdom that maybe you knew nothing about. And this week we have a little gem of a story. Many of you may not realise that Cambodia has a flourishing gold mining industry, one that reaps in tens of millions of dollars in profits each year. The headline this week read, "Booming gold mining sector yields nearly $90 million in mineral fees." And that ain't small change. A whopping $90 million in revenue, and I'm pleased to say, unlike many other developing countries, it's all done with the environment in mind, due to the help of the Australian Emerald Resources Company. Now, the partnership with those clever Aussies only began back in 2021. So in only 4 very short years, revenue is already looking to reach the $100 million mark. And according to the Director General of the Ministry of Mines, the company has refined over 13,000 kilos of gold. Good golly go. So how much is it all worth? Well, it's worth enough money to make my iPhone go mental. Allow me to show you. Here it is. Gold is $94,653 per kilo times 13,000 kilos equals 1.23049E9. And I am as confused as Pooh Bear is over fake honey. But hang on. Turn iPhone sideways and voila, $1,230,489,000 of gold has been extracted. And that's an awful lot of dosh. It's at this point people start screaming at the screen, but the country only got 90 million for over 1 billion in gold. Yes, that's absolutely true. But you must remember gold mining is hugely speculative and costs a vast amount of money to mine. As the minister himself said, there are 20 to 30 companies investing in gold mining across the country, but only 7 have yielded results. So there you go. The country's coffers are filling with the most elusive of metals that oddly look just like honey. It's time to have a look ahead and see what the weather has in store for us next week.
Here we are at the weather, and I like to show you something from my week. And here is Wilbert the hamster, who I'm sure you're very familiar with, but it's not about this photo. Oh, no, it's all about me, and what a bloody genius I am, because I have installed a high-resolution 4K IR camera on Wilbert's house, and here it is. My God, look at this. It never gets boring. I swear to God, it never gets boring. Every time Wilbert goes for the smallest of snuffles, it starts to record, and what we get, of course, is a lot of this. Wilbs on the run. Oh God! I'm sorry. I just knocked something over. I'm that excited. Honestly, I get so much joy. I've spent hours watching this. I'm such a child. Right, my childish ways out the way, and let's go to the weather. And what is it we see? Hold on, I haven't got it up. I need to give it a stroke there, and then push that button, and then it'll pop up quite magically. There it is. Okay, now then, what do we have? The temperature's a bit down. We're down to 93 degrees rather than the 94 we had like last week. Humidity the same, about the 50% mark. But what we are seeing is threatening of rain. So there'll be a smattering of rain as we go through the week.
This has been the Khmer Times News. Please do subscribe and comment and stay up to date with all the breaking news by following us on both Facebook and Telegram. This has been Paolo Bonini. And that was the week that was. I'll see you next weekend for your weekly roundup.